Welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Doveston, and it is great to have you here with me for our weekly I Ching forecast for the week commencing the 9th of June 2025. As you know, before we get into what the I Ching is asking us to pay attention to this week, we do a quick recap of last week. And last week we had Hexagram 9, the small tames, or the taming power of the small. The small accumulates, Hexagram 9, teaching us locked how to focus on giving all the small things their due care, how important doing the little things is, and was bringing us that learning in the week. It was not a week where the big, bold ideas were on the table. It was looking to how the small little things can make a difference and how we can give them what they need. Okay, so that was last week, locked. And I'm not going to dwell on that too long, because you know how I love the synergies that the I Ching brings us. Because this week, our first hexagram for this week's overview is again Hexagram 9, the small tames. Okay, so you are now well acquainted with this hexagram. There are 3 changing lines this week, which I'll get into in a moment. So there's lots of interesting pops of change to pay attention to. But here we are again. Last week we had Hexagram 9 locked. Here we have Hexagram 9. The changing lines are coming in. Okay, so it's starting to move, but there's still work for us to do. Some insights for us to work with this week on the importance of the small things. Sometimes in life, when we face challenges, okay, whether that's a financial crunch, a relationship issue, a team issue, a company issue, whatever it is, whatever is the major challenge that is right in front of you this week, this time of your life, right? Our tendency is to think about what is the one big thing that I can do to transform this whole situation. It's like thinking, right, any moment I'm going to win the lottery because that's how I'm going to get over my issues, right? And this hexagram comes to bring our attention to how important doing the small things well is to that bigger picture. So we think that we've got to do one big thing, okay, one big action, one bold plan that's going to turn this whole situation around, whether it's a relationship crisis, a personal crisis, whatever it is for you. And it's actually, this week and last week, is getting us focused on how important the small things are. Our attention is drawn into looking for solutions in the small little things that we can do. Not the big bold plans, not the big eagle up in the sky, reinventing the big strategy, no. Tweaking and small things and little things and taking care of all the chickens, all the eggs, all the little birds, all the trees. Whatever it is that you are farming in your life is taking care of all the small details. It is appropriate. It's going to bring you what you need. It's going to move you forward this week. And so for a second week in a row, here we are with the same energy, moving forward, that locked energy from last week, moving forward, taking this idea of small tames, the small accumulates, taking that forward into this week again. 3 changing lines, 3rd, 4th, 5th position. Okay, so in a way, the crux of this hexagram is really starting to transform. It means that through the week, there's lots of energy that's ticking over, right? It's asking us to pay attention to it. And so let's get into what these changing lines are asking us to focus on. In position 3, okay, line 3 says we have this urge to push forward and do, okay, to go and move forward into what it is we want to do. Get the plan going. Okay, there's something here where we're wanting to push forward. And this changing line 3 says, as we start off this week, contraindicated. Okay, what we need to do is stay at home. Okay, so for you, this might be literally physically staying at home, all right? Having time in your home space, right? Regrouping, all right? Having the nest around you, and that's important as you start off this week. Or it might be symbolically staying at home. In other words, not pushing outside of your comfort zone this week, not pushing out and pushing into that plan. There's something here where we think we have strength. Let's do this now. And we actually don't have it, all right? And so pushing forward brings us out of alignment of the way, out of alignment of the path, of the flow, and so brings us some challenge. All right, so the challenge might be that just it cannot go anywhere, okay, despite throwing all your energy at it. There's just no container, no space to hold that energy this week, and certainly the first part of the week. Stay at home. So home is a central idea as we start off the week, all right? Stay close to your foundation, to your family, to your nest, to what is certain and what's core to your life. In the position 4, this changing line says, okay, a connection comes. Energy starts moving, it starts aligning, we are connected to flow and things start moving, all right? So our focus is staying open to the connection, being humble and open and sincere and welcoming to this connection that is moving through our lives, our businesses, our teams. So once again, it's also not an energy of wrestling and doing, right? It's actually just being present with the connection that now opens. Something shifts, all right? So we had this home energy, stay at home, don't push out too much, and then it shifts, the connection starts moving. We just need to stay sincere and open, okay? Give the moment what it needs, not be selfish or self-indulgent, just focus on being sincere and open, and this connection starts moving us forward, okay? And then in position 5, what comes in is this idea of unity, right? There's people around us. We now need to reach out and connect. We are not alone in the situation. Perhaps there's a situation where you feel alone or isolated. Is uniting with others, connecting with others, sharing in this unity, all right, in this community that you're part of, and this energy helping you then move through and out. So there's an interesting 3-step process. Stay at home, changing line 3. Be open to the connection. Be sincere. Be in your zone, in your principle. Line 4. Line 5, welcome and embrace the idea that you're not alone. You're part of a group of other people. So perhaps we've been going it alone. Perhaps we've been feeling isolated. And changing line 5 says, no. You are not alone. You can emerge out of your isolation. You can connect with the people around you. Unify with others. That's a powerful energy to bring into your life at this time. So those 3 changing lines, where do they go? Okay, how do they evolve the first hexagram, small, Tames, hexagram 9, into a second flow of change, what I call the victory hexagram. And it is hexagram 38, opposition. Okay, so when you look at that initially, you always think, really? Is that what this is evolving into? All this work to look after the small things and unifying and connecting and staying home and working with it last week, and now here we are in opposition. And what this hexagram brings us is this awareness that some part of our psyche, our situation, our relationship to others, or in a particular process that we're going through, we are in opposition to someone else, or we are in opposition to an ideal. Perhaps there are 2 parts or 2 warring minds within us on a particular issue. And our task is to recognize this opposition, the oil and water that do not meet, and find a way of using creative energy, okay, to turn that conflict into creative tension, okay. You know, I talk about mayonnaise when we get to this hexagram, all right, because we create mayonnaise by emulsifying the vinegar and the oil through the egg. We bind those 2 together and we emulsify them into something new. And that's what our task is this week. Our path to victory, our way of moving through the small Tames, through these changing lines, the way that we move forward. I almost see it as that second hexagram allows us to pull ourselves through the development of the week. Even if the hexagram is challenging, what this hexagram brings us is how we move through to a new place, right? How we transform from where we start in the beginning of the week, because every week gives us a chance to grow. How we transform from where we start the week to where we get to at the end. And the way that we do that is not to indulge in opposition, right? But is to emulsify people together, emulsify the situation together, create something new by bringing different things together in new ways. as opposed to being stuck in one position, right? When you're in opposition, I'm here and you are there, and we just don't see eye to eye. And perhaps you feel unheard and you feel out of sorts with others. This process, the way we pull through the small tames, the small things, and how we become victorious this week, is how we emulsify. And perhaps we are emulsifying a whole lot of little things, okay? We're not just doing oil and water. We're doing maybe 7 or 8 different ingredients. We're creating those molecular bonds in new ways with all kinds of things that are being plugged together. Lots of small little things. And when you put them together and you plug them back together, something totally new and amazing and powerful has been created through the process. So I'm giving this hexagram a positive spin because this is an opportunity for us this week to use the energy of opposition to heal some part of a situation where perhaps we have become isolated. Remember that changing line talks about you're not alone, you're connected to other people. And so perhaps as we work towards the end of the week, as we pull through with this hexagram 38, it allows us to transform on deep levels how we are emulsified with others or emulsified with what we're trying to do, and how we recreate, right? We regenerate and we put those molecular bonds back into a new shape to move forward in a new way. Powerful stuff. The I Ching always brings us something important that we can work on, that we can develop. And in your life, trust your own life as to what emerges and what pops up. For us as a theme, these hexagrams tend to bring us a level of understanding, a level of insight. They kind of well out of the quantum soup, reflect something back at us. And if we can work with it and see how we can grow through the hexagrams from week to week, how we can have those insights that transform the way we look at our world, right? Releasing those erroneous beliefs, okay? Seeing the world in a new way with fresh baby eyes, okay? Seeing ourselves as the powerful beings that we are. If we can just move through every week, we take an insight and a learning from the hexagrams, no matter how terrible they might seem on the surface, like hexagram 29, the abysmal for the whole month. We overcome that by putting our energy into growing and seeing how we can transform ourselves every week. Because isn't that the energy of hexagram 9, the small tames? Every week is an opportunity to do something small, which seems insignificant. But when you put it all together and you look at the growth that we can go through on those 52 little weeks of incremental growth, magic can happen when we put it all back together again. Thank you so much for being here with me. I wish you a wonderful week. Looking forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you for your comments. If you would like to show some support, a thumbs up would be great. And of course, comments, keep them coming. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, hit the follow button, and I will see you very soon because the weeks fly by. Thank you so much.